Welcome back to the show. We are here with the Einsetlers, Frank and Laura, and they are going to be talking all about her career in aviation and the challenges that come with that. Because what intrigued me about them and their story is that aviation is has one of the highest divorce rates, such as being a police officer, being a fireman, and there's a number of other careers that are very challenging on a marriage. So we're going to be hitting on that. And then also we're going to be talking about their son who went through pretty scary illness. So we're going to be hitting on both of those topics. But thank you so much for being here with us.
Hi, welcome.
Midori.
Yeah, welcome to the show. So we're just going to jump right in. Tell us about your career and how that's impacted your marriage and where it's really caused some struggles.
Well, it's already difficult as a captain. We have a high pressure, high stress job. It takes us far away for long periods of time. So it truly has to be a partnership in the marriage, especially having children. So we do have two amazing love trophies from our relationship.
Like that.
And it definitely, before we had children, we had to talk a lot about what it would look like with me traveling, so that our relationship would have to be interchangeable parenting type situation. And then, of course, obviously have time for each other away from the household so that you can stay connected.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. So many couples forget that.
Yes.
And that's such a key to a long-term relationship. And I didn't mention, you two have been together for how long?
16 years now.
Married 16 and together.
We've known each other for a lot longer.
Okay.
19.
Okay. Yeah. And you're still together. So, okay. So Frank, tell me about that. So all of a sudden, you marry this beautiful woman who is not just a pilot, but she's a captain. So, and then you're having kids on top of that. So how did that impact you? How did that make you feel in the relationship?
Well, I was lucky in that I kind of grew up with aviation. I'm an aviation myself, and I was in the Air Force for 12 years. So I kind of knew the gig, even though it wasn't commercial, it was military flying. But I know that the pilots had a really rough job, and the technical skills and the time commitment that it took for training and for doing their job, it's amazing. But I know that they love what they do. So when we met and I found out she was a pilot, I think I was kind of predisposed to support her, because I wanted her to have that, that career that she always wanted. So I think I had the advantage of kind of knowing what it would take for her to do that job. And I knew I had to commit early on to supporting her in that career if we were going to have a go at a marriage. So
that probably helped quite a bit that you had that background and you kind of knew what that picture looked like.
It did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew what I was signing up for.
Okay. But it's one thing to know it, but it's another thing to live it.
Right.
And so what would you say were some, even if you can give some examples of periods of time that you can share with our other listeners where you thought, wow, this is really challenging, and then also how you got through that?
Well, I'll start and then you can throw your 2 cents in. I think the hardest for me was when she's in training, because she'd be gone for 6 weeks at a time. And they let her come home on the weekends, but oftentimes it was just for a day, because by the time she got home and then had to get back to study for her next week of training, I might get to see her for 24 hours. And like I said, that was for 6 weeks. And that's a long time to play Mr. Mom if you're, if you also have a career yourself. So before we got into that with having kids, we really had to talk about, how's this going to work? Are we going to have to get a nanny? Are we going to have family help? What are we going to do together to make this work? It's not just her figuring out, it's us together figuring out a plan. And I think that's what enabled it to be somewhat successful. But that was probably the hardest, was the training periods.
Okay, so I'll pick that up with after September 11 and the hardship of the industry. with both of our jobs. He's an aircraft engineer and for a major manufacturer, and I fly for a major airline. It just devastated the industry. So I did lose my job. And at the time I was a breadwinner. So it really posed some great challenges for us personally and financially. And then right after that, our son became critically ill. And that was an absolute life changer. So the focus became purely on healing our son and making him whole again, and searching to the ends of the earth, literally, to find answers of how to just rebuild him again and restore him and get him back to full health. And that was really difficult for our marriage.
That was a complete change, because you go in thinking you have this plan, especially when you're trying to figure out kids into the mix. And then when it gets turned upside down by this unforeseen tragic event that totally turned the industry on its ear, how do you respond to that as a couple? You're not prepared for it. So it was a big struggle for us.
Well, and honestly, I mean, because we're here to help share, lessons learned with people going, everybody has tough times and good times, and it all comes in different degrees. But I was very focused on Eric, and Frank turned away from the marriage, really. And it was devastating, because it was complete devastation as it was because of our situation. But then to not feel like I had a partner during this really tough time, that I really needed him to be right there in the trenches with me. Mm-hmm. And so it really broke my heart. But I kept holding on to the fact that, okay, he's got to still be in there.
Yeah.
Still this authentically good person. And it can't be, I didn't understand at the time what was going on. But I found an excellent male PhD marriage counselor to help us both figure out how we can mend these wounds. Mm-hmm. So the lessons that I learned wasn't malicious. You want to get up there?
Well, I think it's real easy for men to think when times get tough in the marriage, you have to kind of take control of the situation, and how can you help the family? And the traditional response seems to be, well, I need to make more money or get promoted in my career, move things forward so that we can provide better resources for the family. And sometimes that's not the case. It takes more of your time, more of your attention, and more of your focus away from your family, and it really focuses it on your career now. So whereas you might be spending weekends with your family or time after work with your family, now you're having more responsibilities, so you're getting more phone calls and more responsibility heaped upon you. So you really have to kind of shift away from this narcissism and say, it's not about me, it's about us. We need to start thinking about, what do we need to do to get through this? We didn't see this coming. What do you need from me? What do I need from you? Going forward. And that's kind of what the marriage counseling helped us with. And, reframing your thinking into from the what do I need to do and what does she need to do to what do we need to do together. And that's the real key to success, I think. And you have to communicate. If you don't, you're not on the same page. And once you're not on the same page, your chances of succeeding are pretty low. So I think that's a big problem that couples might be having today, especially when they're faced with hard times.
Okay, so this is, we got to unpack this a little bit more, because I think this is such an important conversation that we're having right now. So not only did 9/11 happen and careers were definitely put on hold, but then you had a child who was very sick. And from what I think I'm hearing, Frank, is that you were feeling overwhelmed. Like, okay, I'm the man, and I'm supposed to keep everything together, and I'm supposed to take care of my family, and things were way out of your control.
Right.
So do you think that it was more of the fact that you could not figure out how to get the control, so it was just easier to just kind of turn away for a while? Explain that part to us a little bit more, because I know that you're not alone.
Yeah, well, I mean, it affected my industry as well. So I had only been working I think not even 3 or 4 months when 9/11 happened at my company. So I was afraid I could lose my job as well. So I was trying to work harder, work longer hours. So part of it was me trying to make sure that I didn't lose my job in addition to her losing hers. But yeah, there's also that little bit of an overwhelming part where you're trying to say, well, what can I do to help her at home? I think my time is better spent, making sure we can keep paying the bills and that kind of thing. And that's not all that the family needs. The family needs time and attention, needs my help as well.
Well, and there's a lot of sacrifices that have to be made. So I sacrificed completely myself and my dreams and goals. And, you kind of expect to both do that
Mm-hmm.
at tough times, because that's the only way you're going to kind of dig out of it. And I think what made our situation even more challenging too is there was nothing concrete about it. It wasn't like there's this light at the end of the tunnel, or if you just achieve this goal, then everything's going to magically be fine. So it's, you have to kind of go through that dark cave together.
And we in regards to our son, when Laura would be gone, if Eric was sick, I would take him to the doctor. And I was of the mindset of whatever the doctor said must be, the end all truth.
But I stopped working when he was sick, so I wasn't working. So that's not.
Laura was a little more, she was more in tune with what Eric was going through, whereas the doctors might be saying, oh, it looks like he has the cold or the flu. And she's saying, no, this is something more than that. I know what the cold and flu looks like. This is not that. You have to be the advocate for your son. Don't just take the doctor's word for it. Sometimes
all of us, for all of our health.
Right. So let me ask, I'm sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I would say that's the big lesson learned for me is, don't always be compliant with what somebody tells you may or may not be wrong with your situation. You have to really kind of research it for yourself and self-advocate. So that's a real important, as a couple, you have to self-advocate together.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's very important. I think, for us women, sometimes, we have a different mindset. Men are from Mars and women are from Venus, and it's very, very true. I totally believe that.
I have a little bit of Mars. I'm just saying, like half and half.
From somewhere. And so how did you guys come together? So for you, Frank, how did you come to understand that we need to communicate? And I imagine that there was some resentment that was built up for you, Laura, of, oh my gosh, I gave up my career right now and I'm taking care of my son. I can only imagine the conversations that were going on in each other's head. Yeah. And so what are some tools that you can share that helped you learn that you actually did need to communicate again, and how you were able to break through to one another?
Yeah. Okay.
So, honestly, what kept me in the mix, I'll say, is that I still held on to the friendship part of things. So you have to have mutual respect, or you're not going to make it, right? So it was trying to hang on to. I still like this person. I still believe in this person. I don't understand what's happening, but I know the grass isn't greener. And the last thing I would want to do is start over. And so when you have a foundation like that, and you can just put all the expectations aside and be grateful for what your partner is bringing to the table and what they are doing, and seeing the good parts of everything and just holding on to that while you ride through the severe turbulence and get to the other side into the smoother air, and now you can actually look around at the beautiful views and all those kind of things, then it's the belief of holding on through the really turbulent stuff. So the storms of life.
That's huge. It's the foresight, because a lot of people do lose that ability.
They kind of stay in dream world, and it's reality. There's ups and downs and all arounds, and so it's persevering through those together, and believing that you both want to do that, good times and in bad times, rich or poor, sickness and in health. Yeah. So we had all that stuff going on. Check.
You guys have done all of that.
I signed up for the all of that.
Laura gave me some good advice when we were dating. She said, you'll know it's the right person to marry if you've been sick together and you've traveled together and you don't want to kill each other.
A couple weeks on the road, and then like if you have the flu and your partner's like, see ya.
Yeah.
Right. That should be like a marriage meme, like something that you give to people who are engaged.
Yes.
In a plaque.
Yes.
Okay, so Frank, what would you say brought you back to the relationship? Meaning, you finally started hearing what Laura was saying and understanding what she needed from you.
Well, I mean, I knew at the core that I really loved this girl. That I never lost sight of that. But it seemed like the harder I was working, the more I was doing, the further away I was getting from her. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, there's a little bit of narcissism where you're like, well, if I take care of me, that'll take care of us. But that's not always the case. So then you kind of have to put your ego in check and say, this isn't about me. It's about something I'm doing wrong. So what is it? Let me find out what it is, and not be prideful and say it's not my problem, it's her problem, or it's someone else's problem. And so when we got into marriage counseling, it's like, okay, I'm going to stay open. Explain it to me. What am I doing wrong? I'm working hard. So don't say I'm not working hard, but I'm not working the right direction, obviously. And so it was more of the, you need to look at things from her perspective. You need to think in terms of in terms of me, instead of me. So, what does the family need? What is, the decisions that you make, are you making them for you, or are you making them for your family? What decision does the family need to make right now? And if you can do that, and it's not easy, it's easy to say, but it's hard to do, because you have things you want to do, and you may want to go away for a weekend, but the family may not need that right now. So you have to keep that in check, and you have to really go there and say, I'm going to put myself to the side and focus on the family. Once I know the family's good, then I'll worry about my needs and my wants after that. And that's what the counselor, I think, helped the most with me. Anyway. So,
well, putting each other in each other's shoes too, so that you can help better empathize with each other, to try to understand the other person's position anyway. So.
Oh my gosh, this is I love this conversation because it transgresses over so many different issues, whether it's childhood illness, whether it's losing a job, whether it's your career. It's such an important conversation that you both have brought up. And I'm extremely grateful for you being so honest and sharing your journey with us. Is there anything else that either of you or both of you would like to add that you think would help other couples?
Well, like I said, just watch your expectations, because I think, like I sent, is that at our age and our generation, we kind of came up thinking that, okay, well, we can do it all. So we can have the career, the kids, the husband, look great, exercise, hang out with the girlfriends, be the best.
Still look 20 forever, right?
Yeah, and we can do it if we have a partner that's all in also. Mm-hmm. And so, but it's watching the expectations of each other and making sure that not only are you meeting the needs of your own self too, because I think as women, you tend to always sacrifice so much for everybody else. And you have to kind of refill that well, and for yourself and for your marriage and for your kids. But it's a balance, and that, to kind of stop and look around, that even amongst the rain clouds, there's beautiful rainbows. So it's having that foresight and that view to see the beauty even when things are really tough. There's gifts all around.
And just remembering that's a huge lesson for all of us.
Yeah.
That was very good. Frank, do you have anything else that you want to add in?
Well, I'd only add, if you keep these three cornerstones, love, trust, and communication. So love is essential. You have to love your partner. If you don't love your partner, then why are you with them? Trust is really easy to lose. It's something that's very hard to gain, and it's extremely hard to gain back. So, she's in a career where she's in, hotel rooms across the world on a weekly basis. So there has to be an element of trust with me and her in me, that I'm taking care of what I need to do when she's
Kids.
gone. Yeah, the kids and so forth. And then communication, you've got to keep putting everything out on the table, because you might have an idea in your head of what's going on in your marriage, and she has a different idea. And if you're not on the same page, you're ultimately going to conflict. And that's where the problems are going to start. So whether it's money, or it's your kids, or it's your family, or whatever the issue is, you have to communicate constantly. And so
would you say that, you said, she'd be gone for 6 weeks at a time, and when those kind of things happen, different things can go through each of our minds, right? Whether it's the person who's gone or the person who's at home. And would you suggest that whatever those fears, whatever those concerns are, that it's better to bring it up and put it out there, or to wait until you have some form of evidence that maybe there's more to what you're thinking?
Well, I would say you put it out there. You're feeling insecure. And then, for us, we're so fortunate now that we have things like FaceTime and texting. And so we can always
see the kids,
we can see the kids, and she can see them wherever she is.
So then I know they're healthy, safe, fine.
So the technology's helped a lot. Yeah, I'd say. So yeah, but definitely put it out there. You have to talk it out. It's the things that you keep, closed off from each other that create the problems. It's always, so you have to.
What a great way to end in the conversation. But this has been insanely valuable. I know so many people are going to get a lot out of this chat that we've just had. So I appreciate both of you being so honest and authentic in your journey. And truly, I see it as a beautiful journey. So thank you for being here with us.
Well,
thank you.